As I picked up my 9-year-old brother from his elementary school, he looked angry. And if you knew my brother, you also knew that he had a permanent smile. So when I saw this, I knew something serious had gone wrong. So the first thing he says to me when he gets in my car is, "Alicia, I hate girls." And now as he puts his stuff in the back of the trunk, he continues to talk about how there's a girl who was supposed to hold his hand and not his best friend's hand. Now with everything flying through my head about college, work, and school, I chuckled at his complaint. But as an older sister who just wanted his little brother to be happy, I said, "Don't worry about it. There's so many other people that you can talk to." I tried to console him, but when we got home that night, he still seemed upset. Maybe I should have just let him rant. Now, as human beings, it is normal to complain. And we complain to try and vent our feelings out. Although studies have shown that this can actually be affecting your mind, body, and overall life. Now, we complain about everything. Traffic, weather, the price of food, the price of gas. And I'm sure if you asked anyone how their day was, they would say something along the lines of, "I'm so tired, I'm so busy," or "I can't wait to go home." So, what does complaining do to your health? Complaining affects a very important part of your brain. According to Dr. Amanda White, when you complain, you're creating negative energy, which ultimately leads to stress and can cause damage to the neurons in the hippocampus. Yep, the part of the brain that is used for problem solving and cognitive thinking. And when the hippocampus shrinks, it can lead to a decline in memory and the ability to adapt to new situations. And what's shocking is that in a study done on Alzheimer's in 2008, Dr. Harold Hampel, head of Alzheimer's departments at the University of Munich, Frankfurt, and Dublin, found that Alzheimer's was linked to damage in the hippocampus. Shocking, right? It is so easy to overlook the damage complaining can do to your health. Now, not only does it affect your mental health, it also affects your physical health as well. When you complain, your body releases the stress hormone cortisol. Cortisol heightens your blood pressure and sugar so that in emergency situations, you are prepared to defend yourself or escape. It's often called the flight or fight response. However, excess amounts of cortisol can lead to high cholesterol, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and even make you more vulnerable to having a stroke. So why have we become so accustomed to complaining? Why has it become a habit that we so often disregard? According to Eckhart Tolle in an interview with Oprah Winfrey, he brings up this idea of egoic complaining. Egoic complaining would be blaming someone else for a wrongdoing in your life to make yourself feel better. For example, if someone cuts you off on the freeway, your first instinct is to say, "That was so rude of them, why did they just cut me off?" You're hurt because they did this to you. However, no one would ever think that a stranger is out to get them except, well, your ego. Now, constant egoic complaining and blame shifting can lead to a negative perception of one's actions and the world around them. Plus, it does nothing good for you except make you feel better for maybe a few seconds. Moreover, it can affect your relationships with your friends and family. According to psychologist Melanie Green, when you complain, she says that complaining can be compared to smoking, in the sense that even being around someone that complains is affecting your health. Much like secondhand smoke, your brain receives the same messages as if you were the one complaining. And what's interesting is that a study done at Stanford Medical School found that just 30 minutes of complaining every day can be damaging your health. Interesting, right? Something that we do every day can be affecting our health tremendously without us even knowing. Now, with all this newfound knowledge about complaining and the damage of complaining, I started to think about ways to release stress without ranting or raving about my feelings. For example, I love to watch stand-up comedy, especially Kevin Hart. I not only love him because of his humor, but I love him because he believes in this idea of having a positive lifestyle. He once said, "Life is like a story and it's full of chapters." The beauty of life is not only do you get to determine your interpretation of your chapters, but each chapter determines if your story is a comedy or a tragedy, a fairy tale or a horror story, rags to riches or riches to rags. Now, you can't control the events that happen to you, but you can control your interpretation of them. So why not choose a story that serves life the best? Now, I recently hurt my leg, as you guys can tell. But instead of moping around, feeling bad that I couldn't dance on my dance team, walk properly, or do any physical activity for that matter, I chose to use this as a learning experience. In dance, I watched from the sidelines and watched my fellow dancers to see how I can improve. And I've also learned not to procrastinate, because who knows what obstacles can come your way. For example, I come to school way earlier because getting to my upstairs classes can take a while. And my injured knee has even become a good conversation starter. People laugh at my clumsiness, and I don't really mind because falling off the ski lift before the first hill was pretty clumsy, and I still laugh about it myself. Now, my ability to see comedy in the situation has ultimately helped me grow as an individual, whereas it could have just become a normal injury that felt more like a burden. It just shows that even in little negative situations, you can always see the positive. Plus, it just shows that we can become famous comedians too, because if Kevin Hart does it, that means that we can do it too. Now, even with a positive outlook like mine and Kevin's, complaining is hard to stop. It's a habit. And like biting your nails in procrastination, it takes time and effort to reduce, but it is and will be worth it. So in order to complain less, you must embrace the idea that life isn't perfect. Comparing yourself to those fictional characters does nothing for you except give you high expectations on how big your house should be and how expensive your car should be. Learn to love what you have. You have so much to be thankful for. Truth is, you'll be much happier than those actors because you won't be acting. Now, this might sound cliche, but I offer you this. The next time you wake up in the morning and your alarm goes off and you realize you have a whole day ahead of you, get up and realize that you have a whole day ahead of you. With it, you can accomplish anything you want. And slowly but surely, these positive ideas will pile up and make you look, seem, and feel healthier and happier. And now the second one is to not be judgmental. We judge ourselves on everything. What we could have done, what steps we should have taken, like when we tell ourselves we could have done better on that presentation last week, or when we judge ourselves for maybe coming late to that meeting or class. But why? You can't change what happened in the past. So accept that it happened, learn from it, and move on with a mindset of how to change for the better. Now the last one is just try to do something exciting while you try and tackle less exciting activities. For example, if you're cleaning the dishes or doing the laundry, listen to that podcast you've been dying to listen to. Maybe make that meal you've been dying to make. After a particularly long weekend, I want to end the week with some homemade scrumptious matcha pancakes, but that's just me. Now, doing this can help make hard tasks more exciting to finish and more exciting to accomplish. Plus, it can make getting out of bed every morning less laborious. But please let me clarify, I'm not saying that you should be an optimistic person forever. Of course not. But thinking more positively more often can make such a difference when dealing with the sadness, stress, and the hardships of life. So keep that positive outlook in mind. Don't be judgmental of yourself or others, and try to couple less fun activities with more fun activities. And hopefully one day soon, my little brother will realize that girls aren't everything, and that complaining is just not worth it. Thank you.